Are you getting stuck in your jump rope practice? Are you tripping over the rope? Are you not able to sustain your jumps? I'm going to show you 10 mistakes that I think beginners make and how you can avoid them if you're making them and take your jump rope game to the next level. The number one mistake that all beginners make is not smashing that like button, not hitting that subscribe button, and not hitting that notification bell on my channel. Come on, I'm waiting. Great, thank you. Let's get on with the video. I believe that one of the biggest mistakes that beginners make is not sizing their rope correctly. You go buy a jump rope, you're super excited, and you grab the rope out of the packet and you start to jump. Let me show you what the problem is with that. Most jump ropes, when you buy them, come in one size, and it is wrong to assume that one size fits all when it comes to jumping rope. The rope has to be sized to your height. So for example, I grab this rope and it's really too long. It's way over my armpits, and when I jump, I'm going to trip because the rope is just too long. Or it's going to slow me down because now I have to wait for this long rope to go around my shorter frame. What you want to do instead is step in the center of your rope with one foot, bring the handles together, and then bring them close to your armpits. The rope, not the handle, but the rope should be just under your armpits. It can be at your armpits, but not longer than that. So because I am a little more advanced now, I'm not at the beginner stage anymore, I've actually tied a knot in my rope to make it shorter to see if this is the better length for me, and I've been happy with that. So start with a little bit longer, which is by your armpits, and then you can shorten the rope as you go along. And then what happens is, because the rope is sized to your length, it doesn't drag, and you're able to jump faster. The next common jump rope beginner mistake that I'm going to talk about is arm position. A lot of beginners hold their arms quite wide away from the torso, and then they rotate the entire arm from the shoulder, and this is what happens. So if the rope is too long, then automatically a lot of people will hold their arms up wide to compensate for jumping that rope, right? And the other reason a lot of people hold their arms out wide is because they're self-taught, they don't know any better. And I was one of those people. I'll put a link right here for my first video that I posted on YouTube, where I literally have my arms out wide in the first couple of days that I was jumping. And then I started watching other YouTubers that were into jumping rope, and they talked about bringing the arms in and then jumping. And it was a bit of an adjustment for me, but eventually I got it. My shoulders were more relaxed, my upper body was more relaxed as a result of it, and jumping became easier and more pleasurable. The other thing that happens when you bring your arms in is that the rope becomes longer. So when the rope is out wide like this, see how it lifts off the ground, and jumping over it means you have to put in more effort. And I really don't know how I used to do that. But when the rope is when your elbows are by your sides, the rope actually becomes longer and it's easier to jump over it. The next common beginner mistake I'm going to talk about is jumping too high. So most beginners want to clear the rope every single time, and in that effort, their arms are flailing and also they're jumping too high. But guys, look at the thickness of this rope. It's barely a 1/4 inch thick. So even if your rope is 1/2 inch thick, if you're working with a heavy rope, you only need to jump that much over the ground to clear the rope. So instead of doing this, just do this. And you'll start clearing that rope a lot more frequently than you have in the past if you were one of those people that was trying to jump too high. Also, remember that nobody can just go on indefinitely clearing the rope. It's part of the process. You will trip up, especially as you learn newer tricks, which are more complicated. So tripping on the rope is part of the process. Don't think about it, just don't worry about it. Start over. That's it. It's as simple as that. The next mistake I'm going to talk about is the feet. So what happens for a lot of beginners is that they stay flat on their feet, and then they say, oh my gosh, my knees are hurting, my ankles are hurting, my hips are hurting, because jumping rope is a high impact exercise. That is not true. Jumping rope, when you do it correctly, is a very, very low impact exercise, and it's very easy on the joints because, again, you're not flailing your arms, you're not jumping too high and landing with force on the ground. But the best way to avoid that, the jarring that the body might feel on flat feet, is not to be on flat feet. You want to be up on your toes, and you want to keep the knees soft and land very gently on the ground. So instead of falling flat on your feet, rise up on your toes, get your heels off the ground, and then keep your knees soft and stay in that pose for as long as you're jumping rope. Like that. So I'm staying on my toes, my heels are off the ground, and I'm staying really low, and because my knees are bent, I don't feel any impact on my joints. The next one that I'm going to talk about is beginners looking down at their feet while jumping rope. For most beginners, trying to clear the rope means looking down at the rope, looking down at the feet, and seeing how high they need to jump in order to clear the rope. And in that, what happens is the whole body is leaning forward, and this is difficult to sustain. So if you have a tendency to look down at your feet, I suggest you look at something at eye level, maybe practice in front of a mirror where you can look at your feet by looking at the mirror, and you get used to that in a few days, and then you will be able to look at anything at eye level and not have to look down at your feet. So I'm looking at eye level, my arms are by my side, my knees are soft, I'm on my toes, and I'm jumping very above the ground. So I could keep doing this for a long time and not get tired, not get hurt, and I will be able to advance to more tricks because now I have my basic positioning right. The next one is a big one for me. It's straight up bad posture. So a lot of people have their neck out, their shoulders are hunched, and then they try to jump rope in this position. So even though their arms are by their side, they are jumping on their toes, they are low to the ground, the neck is straining forward, and it creates a lot of tension on the back of the head, and the shoulders are super tight. So instead, work on shoulder flexibility with the dragon roll and the behind the back jump rope move. Those are two really good exercises for opening up the shoulders, and you will be able to pull your head back and stand tall and stack your ears over your shoulders over your hips, and be able to jump rope that way. So this is an example of bad posture. And this is an example of how you should hold your head and neck over your shoulders, over your hips, over your ankles. Here's another big one that I see that beginners don't focus on, and that is wrist rotation. So because beginners are moving from their shoulders, they tend to hold their arms out very stiff and move the rope from the shoulder. Instead, when the elbow is in, close to the torso, the rotation comes from the wrist. So you're constantly moving the wrist, and the wrist is what's turning the rope. very, very comfortably, very subtly, and the whole movement goes much smoother. So instead of doing this, where the wrists are not moving, bring the elbows in closer to your body, like I told you earlier, and start turning those wrists. The more you turn your wrists, the quicker the jump rope is going to go over your head and under your feet. And then when you slow down the wrist rotation, the jump rope slows down. So your wrists are the control point for the speed of the rope. Just like any other form of exercise, jumping rope requires that you warm up before you get into more complex moves. But a lot of beginners just grab the rope and start jumping, and after a while they feel tired and their joints can get affected. So I don't want you to be that person that gets hurt and gives up jumping rope. Start with a 5-minute warm-up or a 10-minute warm-up depending on your own body, and slowly get into more complex moves rather than starting to jump right away. So for example, when I start to jump rope, I just even begin with simple arm circles. So my forearms and my wrists start to warm up. Then I'll do side swings with one arm. Then I'll go into the other arm and do the same thing. I'll start with one arm circles. Then I'll go into side swings with one arm. Then I'll split the rope open and I'll do the same thing with both arms. Then I'll do the dragon roll. I'll do behind the back. And I'll do each of these exercises for 30 seconds to a minute. And then I'll start slowly hopping over the rope with both feet or one foot at a time. And then throw in a couple of jumps. And gradually warm up my body. And after about 5 to 7 minutes of doing this, I feel more comfortable and I can go into more complex movements. The last mistake of beginners that I'm going to talk about today is mindset. A lot of beginners set very high goals for their jump rope practice. And while there's nothing wrong with setting high goals, it's the follow through that falls short. A lot of people say, how many jumps do I need to do? Is 1,000 jumps good? Is 2,000 jumps good? I never count my jumps, guys. I just set myself a time for, say, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Based on that, I set my practice. And some days I get a little more, some days I get a little less, but I am consistent. I show up every day. As a beginner, all I was focused on is showing up every day and putting in the practice. And as I learned the techniques, as I corrected my mistakes, all the mistakes that I spoke to you about, holding the arms out wide, jumping too high, not rotating the wrist, all those are mistakes that I made. And as I corrected them, I found that my jumping was more pleasurable, and my goal really was to learn new tricks, because as long as I'm moving, as long as I'm jumping, I consider that really good exercise. So I hope that makes sense to you. I urge you not to think about jumping rope as a rigid, regimented movement. Think about it. Kids enjoy jumping rope in the playground. No one's telling them how much to jump, how long to jump. They just have fun with it. I want you to have the same attitude if you're a beginner. Just have fun with it, relax, enjoy it, make it 5 to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on how much time you have, but show up and practice every day, and that's what's gonna get you the results. So that was it for this video, guys. I post videos every Wednesday and Saturday. On Wednesdays, I post videos about my journey on how I'm trying to get fit in 2020. And on Saturdays, I try to post videos like this, where I go over tips or techniques or show you new moves that I'm learning myself and how you can learn them too. Leave me a comment letting me know if you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't already done so, smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, and also gently tap that notification bell so you won't miss another video from me. I'll see you soon. Bye.